Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Arrow Season 7, but just Arrow going forward as well. So Arrow is back from its mid-season break. We got the mid-season premiere earlier this week as we now move into episode 11 for this season, which is simply going to be called Past Sins. But as we tend to get from time to time, we do have an interview with the showrunner for Arrow, that being Beth Schwartz. This time, this interview is coming to us courtesy, might I say, of TV Line. And there are some pretty interesting questions as well as answers here that will get any Arrow fans' brain ticking and possibly hype level increasing as well. Of course, minor spoilers ahead, I guess. Just thought I would have to acknowledge that because, you're going to get one person in the comments who is always going to complain. Now, there are some questions here that are relevant only to episode 10, as this interview came out like the day before episode 10 aired, I think, or maybe 2 days before, so I'm just going to skip them, unless they also contain something relevant to an episode in the future as well. But of course, let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on what we go over in this video, anything that Beth says that, gets your brain ticking and stuff and get you excited. Let me know all of your opinions down there in the comments. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and just want to show support, dropping a like on the video would be greatly appreciated. But the first thing I do want to bring up before jumping into the TV Line stuff is actually a question that was brought up in an interview with Beth, but with CBR.com. Now, they asked how Elseworlds would impact the story moving forward, and Beth said that it wouldn't impact any of the story for this season. It will be next season in which the events of Elseworlds impacts the story for Arrow. So specifically, you'd have to think the deal between Oliver and the Monitor. So even though it shouldn't have to be said that Arrow would be getting season 8, because I think it was pretty obvious, some people still doubted it and thought this would be the final season for some reason. Well, there is essentially your confirmation that we are getting season 8 of Arrow next, actually later this year, I guess. But now let's move on to that TV Line interview with Beth. Get me excited about Oliver Queen, SCPD sanctioned fighter of crime. Having our entire series based off the Vigilantes not being in partnership with the SCPD, we found it super exciting in the writer's room to make this happen. But it's not going to be without conflict, and the rest of the team is going to have to find their way as well to figure out how this is all going to work. Now, personally, I'm okay with this. I know some people aren't the biggest fan of Oliver working with the SCPD, but for me, I think it makes sense on a narrative basis where it's built up to it. It's not like it just randomly happened. Like, I think it's built up to it properly, so I'm fine with it. I have a feeling that there will be some sort of disagreement with either Oliver and all of the SCPD or certain members that might have Oliver go back to Team Arrow maybe towards the end of the season. Maybe just there's some still like corrupt people in SCPD, or just people that don't want to do their job correctly, or maybe Oliver thinks there's a better way to go about it. Something along those lines. Sorry, because I can't see Oliver just sticking with the SCPD for a massive amount of time. I think they might just stick with it for maybe, I don't know, the back half of the season. I don't know. I just can't see him sticking around there the whole time. I think there will be a break-off point, and then, Team Arrow will come back together towards the end of the season. And what will determine whether he suits up versus rocking a V-neck and blazer? He will suit up with the police, but he will also wear a V-neck and blazer. He will do both. Will Oliver get to deal with any villains of the week, or will he be frying bigger fish? A combination, definitely some villains of the week. So the only villain of the week I think that we know is going to be in an episode in the future, it could be this week or in the next couple of episodes, is the villain of Javelin from the comics. But I think it's meant to be like Curtis is dealing with Javelin or something along those lines. I can't remember the actual breakdown of the character, but I think it had something to do with Curtis. Like, it's meant to be like when Curtis does something, he comes across Javelin, something along those lines. They might have changed it, but Javelin, the villain from DC Comics, is apparently meant to be in an episode at some point this season, so I'm guessing that will be a villain of the week that Oliver might deal with, but I have to wait and see. The Elseworlds crossover seemed to do some damage control with regards to Oliver and Felicity. Would you say they're back to 100%, 90%, 80%? I would say 100%. But will we still see Felicity on edge, getting darker? She definitely has a lot going on in the second half, specifically figuring out what she's going to do now that Oliver's back, and how she's going to fit into this new role working for the SCPD, while also doing her own thing. She's going to start getting back to creating tech and doing things to help the world. So in regards to this, I have a feeling that Felicity's going to go, I think people are expecting her to go full on dark, but I don't think they'll go full on dark that quickly. They might just, they have obviously suggested it early on this season, and we just might see sprinkles of it going forward, but I don't think she's going to go full on black-haired evil Felicity or anything like that. I think we just might see sprinkles of that happening, and then in the future, we might see a redemption thing. I know there's a big question of whether she's still dead in the future and stuff like that. I think just because it's a show and like they might not want to confirm someone dying and stuff like that, we might see her, it might be a fake out in the future, because has anyone actually seen her body? Did they ever confirm that anyone saw her body or not? So, I don't know. I'm starting to lean more towards it, just that she's going to be alive in the future. It's probably like a 60 alive, 40 dead in regards to a percentile sort of thing. But yeah, I think they're going to redeem her in the future in some way. Because they already said that basically she, or at least hinted that she like regretted doing some of the stuff she did in the future, and that's why she did all that stuff just before she quote unquote died. So yeah, it does seem like she's going to get redeemed at some point. Because there is a dilapidated smoke tech in the future. Yes, we're going to see the origin story of that. Now, overall in this, they actually did hint at smoke tech pretty massively, not by name, but just by like, a connection to it in episode 10. That was like that DNA scan. I know we've seen parts of it before, but like Felicity's basically got it on point, where I think it even read Oliver's DNA before he got to the door or something like that in last episode. I have a feeling that that DNA scanner is going to be like the first smoke tech invention, or concept at least of some sort, and maybe some other stuff like the spinal implant wouldn't be a bad one to use for smoke tech and get your numbers up. But that DNA scanner I think is going to be like the first one, like the DNA security stuff. But also that Archer program in the future it seemed like it was using something like that, like a DNA scanner. So it wouldn't surprise me if it either like the Archer program was made through smoke tech, whether it's out of Felicity's control or not, or Felicity herself set up the Archer program. The fact that it's called Archer program makes you think that Felicity did it because, Green Arrow, Archer, married to Oliver Queen. So gonna be interesting to see what happens there, because the Archer program is obviously connected to the bombs and stuff. So not looking good for Felicity in regards to, I wasn't bad. Well, you're connected to some bomb stuff going on, so not all that great. I have to say, you got me puzzling over the flash forwards. I even wrote a whole think piece about them. Is this the future or a future? This is the future as we know it, but we haven't even scratched the surface of it yet. We're going to be revealing what's behind the wall at the Glades, and in episode 10, we're going to see our first glimpse of how the other better half are living. We're actually going to have an all-future episode, episode 16, which will answer all the questions, including the backstory of Blackstar, how she came to be in this group. There are more surprises ahead as we fill in the blanks about what has been going on. That episode is titled Star City 2040. Now, firstly, thoughts on this? Cannot wait. It's going to be great. The fact that it's called Star City 2040 is awesome. It's like, Star City 2046 on Legends of Tomorrow back in season 1. Now, an interesting thing that I think a decent amount of you guys watching would know, but some of you might not know, is that they have said that if Arrow, if Arrow keeps going, like every single season following this, will have flash forward. So because season 8's been confirmed, essentially, season 8 will also have flash forward. So this flash forward story won't just end at the end of the season. It will have an ending for what, they're doing, but we will still get more flash forwards next season, which means we could get introduced to new characters in the flash forwards, or other characters from the past that might show up and stuff like that, which could be pretty cool, which opens up another dimension for the show. Because I think if you were going to give people a poll, what they found more interesting, I think they would say flash forwards over flashbacks. Even though flashbacks can have their days, I think overall, just consistency wise, the flash forwards are more interesting, just because it's when you're in the present day, certain characters can't die. But when you're in the flash forwards and you're in that flash forwards, like Roy could die, all of a sudden William could die, Dinah could die, you know what I mean? Because it's the future stuff, they can play with whatever they want. But that character in present day can still have their own storyline and stuff like that. So the flash forwards open up another door, just for interesting storytelling and just cool stuff. So I can't wait to see more of that, and I cannot wait for that full flashed forward episode in episode 16. Speaking of Blackstar, should we read anything into the fact that Roy wasn't present when we first met her? I was wondering if it's because he would recognize her. Oh no, he doesn't know her. Really? Yep, he doesn't. But speaking of Roy, we're definitely going to answer why we found him banished on Lian. We'll get to know more about that. Now, in regards to this, there was the theory that Blackstar was Thea and Roy's daughter. I went over it. I'm a big fan of that theory. I think it makes sense. Like, was it a coincidence that Roy didn't go to that bar, like that where she was fighting and stuff, to meet her initially, or was it intentional? Because if he went there, it'd be like, daughter or something like that. I'm interested to see what that happens. When Arrow does something, sometimes it can just be a coincidence, but a lot of the time it is intentional for certain reasons. So I'd like to think that the whole Roy not going to the bar was because she is his daughter. Now, a lot of people do say, it's Oliver and Felicity's daughter. I think that boat might have sailed. And they'd have to have Felicity get pregnant now, essentially, because these flash forwards are only like 20 years in the future, and Black Star is like obviously like at minimum 18, you know what I mean? So Felicity will have to get pregnant next season or even this season and stuff like that to set that up, and I don't know if they'd go down that route, but you never know. As I said, as Beth said, we're going to find more about Black Star and how she's connected to everything, so they might reveal that she's Felicity's daughter and Oliver's daughter, but they're running out of time in regards to that. But with her being Roy and Thea's daughter, they can do that off screen and we don't have to watch it as the audience, so I think that might be the smarter way to go. In regards to Roy being banished to Lian Yu, I'm excited to see that because that's been a question that a lot of people have been asking, like why was Roy randomly on Lian Yu? But obviously Felicity knew that he was there, so it's going to be interesting. The Ghost Initiative that Diggle and Lila put together in episode 11 comprised of Diaz, China White, Cupid, and Slade's son. Is this your workaround to not being able to use the Suicide Squad? It's a new group, but with the same kind of MO as the Suicide Squad. Diaz is going to be our leader of that, which is really fun. We're going to get to see a lot of that in episode 11, which is David Ramsey's directorial debut. He did such an amazing job. I just had the mix this week, and it's so much fun seeing China White back and Cupid and Kane Wolfman with Diaz leading the charge. It's a really, really cool episode. Now, my thoughts on this, like I think it's obvious it's a workaround about like them not being able to use the Suicide Squad thing. I think that's pretty clear. Like Beth doesn't deny that. She just basically said it is a new group, but it's basically the Suicide Squad. That's basically what she says. But I'm still excited to see it all go down. I think the team is very unreliable and they're all liabilities. So like the fact that Diaz is leading the group shows you that it's just going to be chaos. So I think it should be really fun to see. Is whatever Diggle and Lila are up to with the Dante painting going to dovetail with the bigger picture? It will. Yeah, it will all come to a head. You'll see. We've been playing the long game with that one. Now, obviously, with the Dante picture, a lot of people, including myself, think it's going to be connected to the big bad in some way, shape, or form. Like Dante is the big bad. But it also could be something involved with like a big twist. One of the big theories going on is that Stanley from prison, remember Stanley? We haven't seen him for a while. He is actually Dante, or he's connected to it in some way, shape, or form. They wouldn't tease like, you know, Stanley killing Brick and then escaping and showing that Stanley is just basically a maniac and not follow up on it. So I'm excited to see where this comes to a head. It just seems that every storyline for the most part in this season, even the future stuff is connected, which I really like, and hopefully it comes to a head in a really clean way. That's the best way to put it, clean way. I'd like for all of it to come together in a clean way, and I think it will. I don't think there'll be too many plot holes for the most part. The synopsis for episode 11 also says, Oliver and Laurel are haunted by their past. What more can you say about that? We're going to find out more about Laurel's backstory on Earth 2, which is really cool, and Oliver is sort of going to be haunted by the consequences of him being outed. The episode looks at the consequences of him being unmasked and everyone knowing who he is. Now, Laurel backstory, I'm excited for that. The big question is whether it's actual footage, like are we going to be getting like flashbacks of Laurel, or is it just going to be present day where someone from her past comes back into it, or is it just going to be her saying like, oh, when I was 16, this happened. Oh, when I was 22, this happened, and she just speaks it. She says that to someone like she sort of did to Felicity earlier this season. I wouldn't be the biggest fan of that because I think we've all wanted, if you're like at least half a fan of Laurel, you've wanted to see actual flashbacks to Earth 2. You know, it's Arrow. We love our flashbacks in Arrow, so why not do it? Maybe get a Zoom cameo in there. That'd be pretty cool. You know, but that might be wishful thinking we're going to get that. But there is a little clip in the episode 11 trailer which sort of shows Laurel, and it doesn't look like what we're used to seeing Laurel like on Arrow, at least, you know, since she came to Earth 1. So that maybe could be a flashback. Who knows? What else is coming up for Laurel in the second half of the season? Well, we are doing a Birds of Prey inspired episode that she will be involved with. And we'll get to see what happens in her overall arc, in her redemption story. Whether she is really redeemed as Black Siren, and did she really turn over a new leaf? Or is she still the same evil Black Siren that we saw last season? Birds of Prey is of course a group of people. I suppose you're leaving us to guess who the other team members might be. Yep. Now, overall thoughts on this. Hype. I'm excited for this. Birds of Prey, we got to, you know, I think we've had like 2 Birds of Prey episodes sort of in Arrow's past, so I can't wait to get another form of it. But I guess the big question is, you know, as the TV line reporter sort of you know, hinted at, who else is on the Birds of Prey this season? Obviously, you got your Laurel. Is Dinah going to be on there? Like, Dinah hasn't really been like a vigilante this season. She's just been the captain of the SCPD. So would she be a part of it? If she's not involved, would it be like Emiko? Would she be a part of the Birds of Prey? Would Felicity be there? She's, you know, pretty tight with Laurel now as like a sort of like Oracle type thing, or just as Overwatch, whatever you want to call it. Huntress, would she come back for it? Or is it going to be like another character that comes in? you know, it'd be a pretty cool episode. Some girl power kicking some ass. Arrow's been, you know, had some pretty strong female characters in the past in regards to like taking some men on. So, you know, Birds of Prey, wouldn't mind an episode like that, and I can't wait to see what they do with it. And the final question is, I asked The Flash's Todd Helbing a similar question. Is there anything that Arrow needs to do with the remainder of its season in service of next fall's Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover? It's possible. It's possible. Now, with Arrow, I would be surprised if there's any major hints. As, like I said, with the CBR.com interview, they basically said there's not going to be anything, for the most part, it's going to be dealt with next season early on. So I think there might be like little references to it, but for the most part, it might be like bringing in a character, maybe a Batwoman cameo. It has been heavily rumored. I'm not confirming anything. If I hear any more information about this, I'll try and do a video on it. But it has been rumored that Batwoman might make another cameo on Arrow around the time they're filming the Batwoman pilot. So while Ruby Rose is in Vancouver with all the Batwoman stuff there, they might do a cameo in an episode with her. So she'll come on Arrow for an episode. Not confirming it, it's just a rumor that's going around, but wait and see how that goes. But in regards to little like hints and stuff and setting up and teasers and just all of that for Crisis on Infinite Earths, I think most of that's going to be done on Flash. Todd Helbing in the interview that the TV line guys are like referring to basically said there's going to be like little tidbits in the back half that it clearly hints towards Crisis on Infinite Earths. So the Flash is the show where you're going to get a lot of those Crisis on Infinite Earths like drops, like info drops or little tidbits and teasers and stuff like that. While Arrow, you might just get a character cameo or something along those lines. I wouldn't be expecting too much from Arrow, which Beth sort of said in that CBR.com report. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on what we went over in this video. What from this interview that Beth did get you most excited. Looking forward to the Birds of Prey stuff, the flashback episodes, all of that. Let me know all of that in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.